Hi everybody, welcome back to Cottoverdi. My name's Annette and today I've got quite an interesting project. So ordinarily I would be tackling this kind of project myself, but I've had to rope Richard in, or I've asked Richard whether he'd like to help me, and he said yes. So we're going to be doing this project together, and there is a reason for this, and that is because I have quite badly injured the index finger on my right hand, and I'm very right-handed. I'm not in the slightest bit ambidextrous, so I have quite a bad wall wound that's been very painful, and I can't really I can't put a glove on or anything. I can't really use it, and I can't lift things or cut things. So Richard and I are going to be working together, and I am going to be teaching him, essentially showing him how I would undertake this project and then getting him to do it with me. So the project today involves this stone trough here. Now this stone trough came from our previous property where we lived many years ago, a good 10 years ago now, and we lived there for quite a few years. So the old lady who lived there before us left the stone trough and also some stone benches and some other planters, and we brought them with us here because I quite like them, and so they're kind of inherited sort of thing, but they're incredibly heavy to move around. So once we've put them in position, we don't tend to move them. Now I've managed to persuade Richard to put this one up on the table because I was going to plant it myself and I just wanted to be able to film it easily. So he put it up on the table a week or so ago before I injured my finger, and we're going to plant it up today. And the plants that I've chosen to put in here are succulents because I really want this to be a long-term planting. So in the past I have used this trough to decorate outside our front entrance, sort of the front porch area, and I've put perennials and annuals in it, but actually it's quite shallow. And so anything that's got any decent sized root has not done particularly well in it. And I really think it's only suited for succulents. So I've had it sitting in the back garden waiting to be planted up with succulents for a few years, and today I'm going to do it. So let me show you the plants that we're going to be able to choose from, and then I'll show you, or I will show Richard, how to plant this up. Once we've planted the trough, there's one more thing that we're going to do, and that is we're going to replace some of the annuals that are in containers on the patio, because even though it's only July, they're just not coping very well and they look a bit scraggly and weak, and I don't know whether they're getting not enough water or too much water, but we've got the same annuals planted in our borders and they're doing really well, but they're not doing well in the containers. So I think I'm going to cut my losses on those and replace them with some other plants today, just to add another sparkle to the patio, because I just don't want the patio at this early stage of the season to start looking a bit drab and weak. So we're going to replace those as well. So this is the stone planter that we're going to be using. You can see that it's just got a really nice patina from being old. Sorry, you're seeing my bandage there, which you probably don't want to see, but it's not gory. I thought it'd be interesting to let you know how big it is. So internally, the measurement that we're working with is 2 foot, so it's just over 60 centimetres, and it is only 6 inches, 16 centimetres wide, and it's quite shallow, so it is 8 inches or 20 centimetres deep. But even though that sounds quite deep, it really isn't deep. It wasn't deep enough to sustain any of the plants, and I can't tip it to show you, but there are 2 drainage holes inside. So I'm going to just go through the different plants that I've chosen for this planter. So the first one is this. How gorgeous is that? I think it's the most incredible grey silvery colour. So this is a sedum called Cape Blanco. I will put the names up on the screen, and it will have yellow flowers if we allow it to flower. And as with all sedums, it's going to like really well drained soil. So that's what we're going to fill the trough with, and I'll go through that when I'm explaining it to Richard. So the great thing about sedums is that, you know, I can divide this. If I decide that I want one on one end and one on the other, I could just split it in half because they divide really easily. They're super easy to propagate. You know, we could just pinch off a cluster and just stick it in and it would grow. Usefully, this one doesn't have a name at all. There's no label. It just says alpines and rockery plants, which is pretty useless. But It's another grey colour. I think it'll go really nicely. It's a very contrasting texture. It's a really nice sort of thick carpeted texture. I really like it, but again, I love the silvery colour to it. And I think that in full sun, the silvery colours look really good and just feel really summery. This one here, you can see this is flowered already, so we need to sort of clean these bits off. But this is a saxifraga called Silver Cushion. Now, it's not particularly silvery. It's much more on the green side than, for instance, this one. But it has sort of, with the tips, I think it does probably have that sort of silvery sheen to it. So it's just called Silver Cushion, and does it say how big it gets? 15 by 30 centimetres, which is 6 by 12 inches. And then I've got this gorgeous erodium here. This one's called Bishop's Form. I think it's readily available, but I really liked this sort of cool pink colour. I thought it went really well with the silver of the sedums. And then I've got a couple of things that look a little bit ropey. So the first things I've got are these sedums here. So I've been propagating these for a while. You can see that there's loads of leaves and moss in the bottom, but I've been growing these on for a while, and you can kind of see the habit, the growth habit they have. They're kind of like a sprawling mass. They should form a carpet. If they were happy and healthy, I think that they would grow more closely together. I think they're going to be much better off in the trough, where they'll get just it'll be a better environment for them. So I think this sedum is called Red Carpet, and each of the leaves, are they called leaves? I don't know, but you can see that they've got this sort of greeny, bright greeny tinge to them, and I think that looks really pretty too. So the other things that I've got are these tiny little hebes. These I think are called James Sterling, and they grow really, really slowly, but the reason I thought these would do quite well in this planter, firstly, is because they grow really slowly. They're quite low growing at the moment. I mean, if they get too big over time, I will just dig them out. But they've just got these really, really tiny leaves on them, and I think they're going to look really cute, and also because they're just a little sort of bright limey green spark, I think that'll add some interest, because I don't want the whole trough to be sort of silvery. So the other thing that I've treated myself to is a mixed bunch of sedums, and these have got, you know, bright greens and reds and silvery, and this one on the end's got some pinky bits to it, and I think it's going to be really fun to choose which of these can fit into the planter. So I'm just going to cram everything in and try and make it look really full and wonderful. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill our trough with half and half. So we're going to do half compost, just ordinary multi-purpose peat-free compost, and then we're going to do exactly the same amount of grit, because sedums need good drainage. And then Richard is going to give that a really good mix around. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use curved bits of crock to cover the holes. And it's really important when you're covering the holes that water can still actually get through. All we're trying to do is prevent the soil just completely falling through. And now we're just going to fill the trough. Then we can choose what we'd like to plant where. So, I mean, I really, really love this one. I don't know whether maybe we'll just do that, and then we'll plop some of those in amongst them.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think we can divide this one? So take that out, let's see if we can split it in half. So see whether you can split it in half. Just divide it, yeah. Be gentle, because it will break really easily. They're quite fragile. Oh, excellent. Okay, so I'm going to do half down one end and half down the other end. See if we can split this one. Do you want to use these? Excellent. So let's put one here and then one this side. Let's put that side. And then, in fact, maybe let's split this one up too. I think I'm going to put that one in the middle. So I have a pop of green in this corner and a pop of green in that corner. What do you think? Okay, I think that's good. So let's plant this one in the middle. So all you have to do is sort of make a hole with your hand. Should we put some plant food in? So I've forgotten to add some plant food, so we're just going to pour some plant food on top of the trough. So I'm just using a slow release fertiliser for the plant food in the trough. I think it's the best thing for pots. Then every time you water, it sort of activates the little granules. Be generous. Okay, and then just mix it in. And then we're going to stick this one in the middle. Is that down far enough? Yeah, okay. And then just wedge it in. So push compost right up against it, that's it. Perfect. And then let's put this one in here. Can you help me, because I haven't got my other hand? So all these little bits that are falling off, I'm just going to propagate them. I knew this one would be fragile. Can you shove some soil down that side? Thank you. Okay, and then this green one is going in this corner here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then,
Where's that one going?
I think there. Is that deep enough? I don't think that's deep enough. Let's dig it down deeper. Yeah, that's better. Perfect. And then we just need to do the same on the other side, but do it in the opposite. So this one goes here, because I want it opposite to this. And then I really want to do this pink one somewhere. So I want it to go in that spot there, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, this one, take off a couple of the little bits around it. I'm going to propagate them. And let's put it, I think, in this spot over there. I'm just adding a bit of sort of pink in between them. Just cram it into that space. But it needs to go in deep enough. And then I want to use some of these. Can you take this apart and see what it looks like? What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you happy with your project?
Perfect.
Darling, how do you feel about it?
Good.
So, we now need to water it in and kind of rinse off the sedums because they're covered in a bit of soil, which is just normal. So we're going to have to try and move this trough. And when I say we, I mean Richard. I'm not lifting anything. This is throbbing. So we're going to move it and water everything in, and then I'll show you where its final position is once we get it round there, which might be a bit of a feat of engineering. So this is an incredibly sunny part of the garden, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And this whole area is going to be a gravel garden eventually. That's what we're hoping. This is where I planted the chamomile in a previous video. Let's get on with the next project. I'm so happy with that trough. I think it looks incredibly cute where it is. We're back in the back working part of our garden, which is always a bit messy, but there you go. And we're now going to pot up the pots that I've taken from the patio that I think are looking a bit sad. One of them is a dahlia that's not doing well at all, so that's going in the bin. It's not even going to go on the compost because I don't know what the problem is. And the others are just annuals that aren't doing well. Oh, and there is a rose, one of my rose cutie pies. The leaves don't seem to be doing well. It's just not very healthy. So let's get on with that. I'm going to get Richard to do everything again. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to empty all the pots and just investigate what's going on with some of the root balls, and then we will refill the pots. So let's empty everything, darling.
I'll just empty it in.
Yep, just tip it in. So this is a dahlia called Pink Runner that has not survived, hasn't grown at all. I'm not sure why. Yeah, I think it's just rotten. Okay, so we'll just put that on the compost, actually. Doesn't seem to be diseased. So this is a gorgeous schizanthus, but I think maybe it didn't get enough hot water during the heat wave or something like that, and it has not done very well, and it's basically gone over. So this is a Gilia bird's eye, and if you've watched the recent garden tour that I put up, you'll see how well it's doing in the borders. But here in the pot, it just doesn't seem to be flowering. So it has flowered, and now it's just like mostly greenery. And I think maybe the compost just doesn't get saturated enough when we water it. So I'm going to put this on the compost, take everything out, and then we'll replant this pot. I don't even know what this was, but it's clearly dead. So just tip that all onto the compost, darling. Unless there's a plastic label in there.
Yeah.
Is that everything? Have we emptied everything?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so now we're going to plant up the pots. So let's take the really big pot first. And I'm going to reuse the compost, actually. Having said that, I won't. I am going to reuse it because there was nothing wrong with the dahlia. So to replace the dahlia, I want something that's going to grow really quickly. I don't want to go out and buy a plant. So I'm using this. That's why I was holding it up. So this is a Rose Campion, another Lychnis, and it has self-seeded into one of the pots in my nursery, and I've just been growing it on since last year, actually. So there are lots of individual little plants in there, and we're just going to take them out and pop them into this pot. Now I'm doing this because I know that it's going to grow really quickly and it'll flower beautifully, and I've already got some on the patio, so this is not going to be out of place there. So our plant nursery is quite shaded by next door's trees, so we always end up with a lot of their leaves in all the plants. It's a little bit annoying. So Richard's just cutting through this enormous root ball to break out the individual plants. It's quite easy to see where each individual plant is, and we're just going to pop them all into here, and then make sure you're planting it deep enough, darling.
Look good?
That's good. Yeah, so sort of aim for where the lip is, and don't push them right up against the edge. You want compost up against, that's it, compost up against the edge. And then sort of shake it so it's flat a bit, and then we want to put some grit on top to stop the weeds. Now we're going to plant this into one of the containers. This, if you've been following along, you may have seen me do a spring tablescape, and this was one of the plants I used. I think that it needs to come out of this quite small pot. It's grown a little bit, and so we're going to put it into one of the pots that we've just emptied. So bearing in mind that we want to put grit on top, and you just need to leave room so that when we water it, you can actually get some water in the bowl. So into the tall pots, I'm going to be planting these. Now they look like nothing, but that is because they're coleus. These are electric lime coleus, and the slugs and snails have been chomping away at them, and they're only just reflushing again. So I didn't put them in the patio pots originally because they were just sticks basically. So now that they're reflushing, hopefully I can protect them. I'm going to plant them in the pots.
Good.
Yep, perfect. So I think we'll try and squeeze these two in here.
Okay.
You may have to split up the root ball, and then this one can just go straight into there. I already have some of these white begonias in the patio pots, and I've got a few left. So with the really shallow pot, I think that it would do well in the shade, and the begonias do really well in the shade. So that's what we're going to pop into the shallow pot. So I'm hoping with this that it's just going to create a lovely mound of white flowers. Okay, now we're just going to water all the pots in and then place them back on the patio. Well, I really hope you've had fun with us today as I showed Richard how to plant up the succulent trough, and that he's helped me repot the patio pots that weren't looking so hot. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do give it a like, it really does help me. And if you want to see more videos like this and you're new to my channel and you'd like to follow me along in my English cottage garden, it's a lovely walled garden in a Grade 2 listed building, then do subscribe to my channel. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.